I've been thinking a lot about gaming as a medium and as a culture. It feels like there is a lot of negativity in gaming spaces, with some of it being perpetuated by myself and others. A portion of it could be completely warranted, at least as warranted as toxicity can ever be, but a lot of it is simply negativity for negativity's sake. I mean, negativity is easy. People are always interested in watching something crash and burn. The psychological term for this is Schadenfreude, and it's defined as the emotional experience of pleasure in response to another's misfortune. Every person experiences this to a certain extent. It's a German word that sometimes is translated as joy from damage or joy from harm. Sometimes it is because a person or thing has wronged you, other times it's just amusing to see. Here's a more practical example. Someone on the enemy team is insulting you or one of your teammates. If you end up winning the game, the satisfaction you feel could be described as Schadenfreude, depending on why you feel it. Does the win feel good because you like to win, or does it feel good because you beat the guy who you felt wronged by? I say this to illustrate that just because the word's definition makes its application seem negative, it is really more gray than anything. Being happy that someone hurt themselves is, by most people's definition, wrong. Being happy that someone was faced with their comeuppance is, by most people's definition, right, or at the very least, morally justifiable. However, they are both Schadenfreude. If you'll allow me, I'd like to explain how this might have made some gaming communities toxic. First, let's establish that this is not just a result of toxic players, at least not entirely. It is also reinforced by a lot of the systems that games have. To clarify, I am not talking about the simple fact that you compete in video games. In a lot of multiplayer games, there is a notification that pops up to let you know that your report led to someone's account having action taken against it. While this is looked at as an objectively right thing, it can still perpetuate a negative feedback loop, although not to the same extent that other things do. But most players are not developers, so I will focus on things that players do, or players can do, for this video. The emotional experience of pleasure in response to another's misfortune. One of the greatest examples of this in gaming is trolling. While not as prolific as it once was, trolling has influenced how an entire generation of gamers approach team and voice chats. I'll say this to alleviate any confusion. I am not saying that trolling is the devil's work or should be outlawed. I just found this topic very interesting and wanted to talk about it as objectively as I can. From old Call of Duty trolling videos to the roots of channels like Unstoppable Luck.
Why are you being a jerk?
What do you mean?
Laughing at other people getting angry over video games can be funny, but I'm sure being the subject of these videos or clips might not have felt great. The same way that mispronouncing a word in voice chat and being laughed at for it probably doesn't feel the best either. Or your teammates making jokes or insulting you because you are having a bad game. Oftentimes, these actions perpetuate a cycle of negativity. It happened to me, so they can deal with it too. The cycle characterized by that statement is the reactive aggression cycle, or RAC. But that's a topic for another video. The only thing that has to be understood about it is that it affects people to varying degrees, but it does affect them. Good or bad, our experiences shape how we interact with and view the spaces we participate in. The person you insult for a chuckle might stop joining team voice chats in games that they play, potentially making the game of others worse. It's this cycle that results in extreme toxicity in communities, that turn people away from games and makes new players hesitant to join communities. While you specifically have not caused the majority of their misfortune as it relates to gaming, you shouldn't be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, it's unrealistic to believe that every player in every game has the ability to be a good sport. Even if that was somehow the case, anger can often overpower the most caring and kind people. What I'm trying to say is that you don't have to make that mean comment most of the time. Toxicity usually doesn't make people play better. By contributing to the reactive aggression cycle, you are actively hurting the game you enjoy. In most multiplayer games, there has to be players to play with and against. If you enjoy these games, you shouldn't actively harm them. If you don't enjoy them, you shouldn't play them. I say all of this not to say that I am an angel. I have contributed heavily to this cycle, and that is something I am very remorseful for. Truthfully, I am still a dickhead, but I try my hardest to keep it to myself. My bad experience shouldn't spread to others. I am kind to people not because I perceive them as weak, but to show myself that I am strong enough not to give in to my most basic emotions. Plus, if people are willing to pick up a new game that I play, it just means some of my games might be easier. While it is probably impossible to completely cure this blight, this does not absolve us of our responsibility. We might not be able to fix everything, but we can certainly choose not to become a part of the issue. Every single person has the power to make a difference, regardless of how small that difference might be. We should not be contributing to the negativity that undermines our community. Break the cycle.